I'm Kelly Wilkes, and I'm here with Anita Joyce. This is Decorating Tips and Tricks, episode 316, Prior Trends That Are Making a Comeback. And you can find the show notes for today's episode at decoratingtipsandtricks.com/316. Is there anything really new in the decorating world, Anita Jean?
It's maybe not. I mean, you know what I think about with these trends coming and going are the old bell bottoms. The old bell bottoms went away and now they're back, but they're not called that anymore. Now they're boot cut or flare jeans. And hip huggers, yeah, they're back, but they're low riders. You know, it's just
everything gets tweaked a bit.
It's the same thing, but it's just called, it's tweaked, but it's called something else too. That seems to be an important difference. So yeah, it seems like it's just kind of, there's only so much out there and it comes and goes and people, there's a reason for it. You see it everywhere. People get bored with it, then it's out. And then you're like, what was that thing we did 20 years ago?
Right.
Yeah, let's bring that back.
Yes, because one trend starts in a reaction to another trend, like the craftsman style reaction to the overabundance of the Victorians, and the mid-century modern in reaction to the Art Deco. So it's like, as we say, the pendulum swings, it swings far, and then it goes back into the other direction. But I think it's just underlines again what we are talking to you guys about all the time is developing your own style. So you're not in one of these pendulum swinging trend cycles, but it is really interesting to take a look at the trends and also see what's, coming back that has been pretty hot for a while and how you can incorporate it into your own style. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's some stuff that might make you even go, no, or gosh, I didn't do that the first time around, or I wasn't even born the first time around. What are you talking about? All that sort of stuff. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of different sorts of reactions today as we go through, but
let's try to keep our emotions in check.
Oh yes, let's. You want to start?
Sure. Well, I'm thinking about mid-century modern. Now it was, obviously this is the style that was around in the 50s and 60s. Then it went so out of style. I mean, if you had seen it in the 70s or 80s, you would have cringed at how out of style it looked. It just looked so dated, so out of touch with, the way things looked at that point. Everything and then was very early 18th century, all mahogany. And now it's swung back to mid-century modern. Now there's been a slight turbulence there. It's not as in as it was a couple years ago, but I feel like there are pieces of that mid-century modern that have moved into kind of classic look, and I think it is still around.
Yeah, but it's definitely on its way out. As
right,
far as
but there's elements
hot.
of it. Right. But I'm just saying, I'd say that's something that went out and is back in. Pieces of it are, but not completely. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first visited Peter's parents' house, and that would have been in the very early 90s, and they had all mid-century pieces, and it looked like the living room in particular had sort of like stood still, and they had like the Danish modern
the daytime stood still,
the console, like where you would put the records on, I don't even remember, like a hi-fi, is that what you would call that? And it was
Kevin's parents had the same thing, the huge thing. It was like the size of a buffet if you're under a certain age. And that was your iPod or your iPhone. It was this huge, massive thing, and it had the record player in it. And I guess maybe you needed it the speakers were huge. And I guess that's where you kept your records. I don't really remember.
Yeah. Well, my point being is that when I walked in, I was like, oh gosh, wow. Like I could, even then when I wasn't even doing this for a living, I was like, wow, maybe I could help out here a little bit moving this forward. But then going back and visiting when mid-century modern was so hot, you think, oh my gosh, people would be going crazy. Like all the coolest people on the west side of LA would be just dying for my mother-in-law Edith's, living room set.
Right. But not exactly like she had it though. I mean, that's like you said, they don't just take the whole thing and pick it up. It would be pieces and it would be mixed with different things that would be hot, but not exactly the way it was done back then.
Right. But what's happening now is I think there's a reaction to the mid-century modern, and you're getting a little bit more of this Art Deco look coming in. So that is trending back in.
Yes. And my grandparents had a lot of that furniture from the 30s. I remember there was, think about those old vanities with the huge round mirrors. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, my grandma Dolores had that. Mm-hmm.
See? Yeah, my grandma did too. That was, but it looked so different from what we had because my parents had fairly new furniture. And so it was like a different magical world going to my grandma's house and seeing those things.
Well, isn't that nice anyway?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, but yeah, I don't remember necessarily being attracted to it so much, but just thinking it was so unusual and so exotic, I guess, in a way.
Well, yeah, because I think the Art Deco stuff, which, the hallmarks is more ornamentation, which again is sort of a reaction to the mid-century, the mid-century was a reaction to that, I guess.
Right. The other way, yes, exactly.
And the shapes are geometric.
Yes.
The patterns are geometric and there's a lot of symmetry and it kind of has this old school glamour. So like almost Great Gatsby, mid-20s into the 30s kind of look.
Right.
And it wasn't that, it is not that prevalent. Well, let's just say it's never going to reach the ubiquitous status of farmhouse. There's not going to be that many people decorating in this Art Deco look, but it's definitely a trend that's coming back and we're seeing it in subtle ways and patterns and fabrics and just a little bit more ornamentation. Like, I don't know. Not everybody's going to be walking around reading Ayn Rand's Fountainhead and thinking of like all these Art Deco types of apartments and looks, but you can maybe incorporate it into what you've got going on. But it definitely has this old school glamour, which I like. But I have never honestly been really drawn to the Art Deco look.
Well, and if you don't know what we're talking about, think about the Empire State Building.
Yeah, that's a good example.
The Art Deco. And Kevin and I used to love watching the Thin Man movies, which I think were set around the 30s.
They're old. Yeah. I think
we used to watch them and then I pulled them out recently and it was just pretty funny because they're just drunk all the time. And they're trying to solve these crimes. And I'm thinking, that's really so politically incorrect. I mean, and when we were watching them, it was the 90s. I guess we just thought they were cute, and old. And now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's really out of touch with
smoking, drinking, and wearing fedoras.
Yes, exactly. Yes. All the things that are super not cool anymore. Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so then moving on, another older past trend that's coming back is rattan, wicker, and bamboo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's all part of this new boho aesthetic, that's back in. So I think that's what's reviving that look. But it's kind of an updated boho. It's not necessarily the older boho with all those rich tapestries and everything. Now it's kind of more of a lighter, more of a tribal look. And so I'm seeing these in things like, bar stools and the storage chests and side tables. And, I'm really into using the wicker baskets as chests. If you see kind of like a trunk, I love those. I have several of those. And, that's just really such a nice look for storage.
Well, yeah. And I think the wicker chest, like you're saying, I have several of those too. I mean, that runs all through different styles.
Mm-hmm.
That
It
could
does.
be
That's true.
European, that could be French country, that could be farmhouse, and it could be boho. What I think is happening with the wicker and rattan is it's even seeping into more traditional type of settings. Like even in a more traditional type of living room, you might see a rattan chair, maybe it's painted or something like that, but it definitely is rubbing up against more traditional type furnishings. It doesn't have to be on the porch. It doesn't have to be in a boho room. Everybody doesn't have to be sitting in a butterfly chair, or what are they butterfly chairs or peacock chairs? I think peacock chair, right?
Peacock,
That big,
peacock, yep.
Or everybody can picture what that looks like, right? That
I actually had a
big
peacock metal peacock chair that was old.
Whoa.
A child's one. I may still be at the farm. I don't know. Sometimes these things are left out and they get rusted, and they have to go bye-bye. And sometimes I can't remember what's still
it's hard to keep
viable.
It straight, isn't it?
It is hard. Yeah.
I was looking around when I was thinking about the trend coming back, and I thought, well, how could we translate that into a little accent piece in all our houses? So I found this hourglass shape water hyacinth table that is so darling. It's a little side table, almost like a garden stool-ish, but it's very definitely an hourglass shape.
Why am I seeing that? I think I've seen that somewhere. Who sells that? Do you know?
I have the link. I'll put in the link. It's about $100, but I mean,
that's so interesting.
Spectacular look.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I worked at this clothing store, ladies' clothing store. And, I was just so nerdy and not cool. But I worked with this really cool person who was, she was in her 20s and she lived in an apartment, and she was thin and tan, which I will never be tan. So it was just like, and she was just really pretty and everything. Well, I remember going to her apartment one day, and she had a wicker.
Got to go over to her apartment.
I did. I know. I felt like really special.
You're really nervous.
I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. I was trying to act as cool as I possibly could, but I'm sure she was laughing the whole time. So she had a wicker basket, and I thought this was so cool because she had put a piece of glass on it. And this is before Pinterest or anything, and made it into a side table. But so, first off, she'd been clever kind of creating her own furniture. Right. But the other thing back then, she had put dried flowers in it. So when you looked into the basket, there was like this bouquet of flowers.
What?
I just was like, I know, now it sounds a little funny, but it was very creative.
No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was very impressed.
That's such a fun memory though, that you were so excited. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I think the wicker on this, what is it? Water hyacinth table. You can't open it, so you couldn't put in your dried, dusty status, even if you wanted to. I think it's pretty. It could be very streamlined. It could look great. I mean, coastal, it would do without a bat of an eye. But you could probably put it in any sort of room. Maybe not mid-century modern. I would not put it in there, or an Art Deco room. But I could work with a lot of different styles and look nice. So think about working in some rattan and wicker. And those are things, aside from the basket, that you can pick up really for not too much money at all. Even new, they're not that much money.
Well, and definitely the baskets. Oh my goodness, wicker baskets are so wonderful for storage. And there's so many different styles. Really, it doesn't matter if your style is contemporary or country French or whatever. There's going to be a basket that goes with your style. I've even seen some beautiful colored ones that just had a beautiful blue on it at Anthropology that was kind of more the boho style. That would be really pretty sitting out on a dresser or whatever. You could use it to put some things in. Mm-hmm. So there's so many ways to use baskets. And I mean, boy, that could be a whole podcast episode right there, is how to use baskets.
Oh, well, go write that one down.
I know. I'm writing it down.
Okay. Now, stainless, we're just going to have to shove you over a little bit, because stainless steel appliances, they're always going to be a good choice. And this is just a past trend that's coming back, but it's coming back in these fun retro appliances that have fun colors and darling silhouettes, great shapes, cool handles. So it might be something that you want to consider adding. They're not going to be they're not kitschy really anymore. Although some of them are absolutely darling, like those Smegs and whatnot from the 50s, or, to look like they're from the 50s. But, I'm feeling like, my old stove, like I'm right on this new.
Oh, you're so on trend.
This comeback trend.
You are.
But, obviously my stove has weathered a lot of different trends. It held its head high through the stainless steel trend, and it's held its head high through the avocado trend, and all of those trends.
It survived a lot of years that
so that
somebody
old
else
lady
would have thrown it away.
Yeah. So she's from 1929. That stove has seen a lot of other stoves come and go. So I'm excited to hear that retro appliances are back. But that doesn't mean
Yeah. And like Elmira is another brand that sells them. And my friend Kathy had a blue retro refrigerator. It was such a beautiful refrigerator. I mean, they moved from that house. They don't have it anymore. But what a beautiful refrigerator. It just was like the showpiece of the whole kitchen. So these are more expensive than regular refrigerators, but they really are beautiful. But here's another idea for you. Let's say you really like that look of the Smeg or the Elmira refrigerator, but you're saying, you know what, that's a big expense. I'm not going to replace my refrigerator. You can kind of have that look in your kitchen on a much smaller scale if you think about a toaster or a tea kettle or something, because the Smegs do make the smaller size. And my personal favorite that I've mentioned on the podcast before, Russell Hobbs.
Oh, those are so cute.
I know.
I
it's
had
on
not
my list.
heard of that until you mentioned it that day. And then I went and looked, and I was like, oh my gosh.
Okay, I'm going to have the toaster and the tea kettle. They're in the beautiful colors. They come in a couple different colors. And the toaster comes with a cage to put on the top. So if you have some big pastry, I'm setting stuff on top of my toaster all the time to heat it up because it's not going to fit in like a biscuit. Oh. But if I had one of these, I could just put it in that little cage and it'd be just right.
Are they gluten-free biscuits? I'm just checking in because
yes,
I thought we were gluten-free together.
I made gluten-free biscuits. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I am not. No. We went to the Indian restaurant. Garlic naan, didn't touch it.
Oh, that's hard.
It was extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But I held
I had the first couple of weeks I tried that. I was hard to pass up a stale pretzel. Like I was like, oh, did someone drop this? I'll just eat it. I mean,
or you go to
so
Costco
badly
because the samples there don't count. If you have gluten there, it's like, it's a bite.
Oh, I didn't know about it. I might have to resume my.
No, they don't count. No, they don't count. No.
Oh.
I mean, you can have that gluten and it's like, it's a free ride.
But you know what? Totally off topic, but I am not missing it anymore.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. Well, I've been, definitely gluten free off and on. I mean, I probably, maybe 10 years. It's been a long time. But sometimes I'm more strict than others. But
you were gluten-free when gluten-free wasn't cool.
And when it was almost impossible to find. So we just stopped eating bread. I know.
Yeah.
I know. And so
that's pretty much what I've done. I mean, okay, let's get back on topic. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I know. We can go. I know. Sorry. You are not listening to a gluten-free podcast. Okay.
So this one, you need to be be
if this is what I think it is.
I think the colors are coming back.
No.
Yes. Avocado.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me say.
Orange.
I did a post a long time ago on the color gray. And I just recently got a comment. People can comment. The post can be 2 years old and people can still leave a comment. I mean, you would have think I called this woman so many names. She was so agitated and angry. She hates gray. Oh. And it was such a angry response to the gray. And I'm thinking that how she felt about the gray, I think that's how I'm feeling about these 70s colors. The avocado green, the orange, the mustard yellow, the tans and the browns. Yeah. I can't. They may be back, but they're never coming back to my house.
Yeah, I remember my mom having this orange fondue pot. Like, I just remember certain things. And I think that at one point, there was an avocado refrigerator in a house I lived in.
Okay, so no, wait a minute. My in-laws had this cute little cabin in the mountains of North Carolina when I married into the family. Downstairs, I can't remember. There was a kitchen upstairs and down. It was a small little cabin, but there was one up and down. One of them had avocado green appliances. I can't remember which one. One of them, it was the downstairs, had a bright orange countertop.
Wow.
I am not, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that combined. That would have been really spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's so distinctive of that time. If you started to use those colors in combination, I think it would definitely have this kitsch feel. So, if that's something fun that you want to do, then that's the way to make that happen, have that feeling. But let's just say, I do like, let's call it a burnt saffron rather than a mustard yellow, because I'm not a mustard fan, definitely more of a ketchup girl. But the burnt saffron, like, I like that color, like a deeper sunflower. That oftentimes is my accent color if I have one in my house. So I'm okay with that color, but I think it's the idea of them coming back in combination. But, it's just something you need to be aware of. If anybody tries to sell you an avocado refrigerator, just know it might be on trend, but it might not be for you. So we're just letting you know. Just watch out.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard, and look, yeah, I heard it too, that the 70s colors are back, but are they coming back here? No. Have I really seen it anywhere? Not really. It's just somebody out there said they were coming back. Well, that's probably because they have a bunch of brown stuff left over from the 70s they're still trying to get rid of.
Well, another color or finish that's coming back is chrome. So we have, the brass and the unlacquered brass, and then the shiny brass even made a little appearance, but people were like, no, we don't really want the shiny brass, but the shiny silver, the chrome is coming back. And I think that's absolutely fine. It's usually less expensive, when you see the chrome version of faucets and whatnot. And it is a classic. That is what sink faucets were made of for years. And then and then they had a patina over time, which then designers and manufacturers morphed into this brushed look. You could get the old look a little bit by the brushed, but it's also depending upon the shape or the silhouette of your faucets or hardware, you can have this very vintage feel to it, which is really nice. And I'm sure our sponsor, D. Lawless, has a ton of different hardware in chrome that you could check out if you would like to add some chrome bits and bobs to your house.
Yeah. And something else that, I'm so into this is the velvet furniture. It was in for a while when kind of the more luscious fabrics were popular. Then everything went very neutral and simple and not so luxurious looking, more casual. But now the velvets are back, and I love velvet. I think it's such a great fabric.
Don't you just love a great recommendation from a friend? Well, we're delighted to be recommending these companies and their wonderful products to you today. And let them know your friends at DTT sent you. Pesto pork chops over Parmesan polenta. Not that easy to say, but oh so easy to make with Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit company for eating well, and we have such a great deal for you. You're going to save $250. Listen on for the details on that. Green Chef makes eating well easy for any lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals. We're getting into the busy holiday season, so it's a perfect time to have Green Chef help you out. Let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with their chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. And you know what? You don't have to lose track of your healthy eating habits during the holidays. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with their registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. So sign up for your free session and start on the road towards better health today. And that deal I want to tell you about, visit greenchef.com/DTT DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. So that's greenchef.com/DTT250 and use the code DTT250 for $250 off your order. Inevitably, with the new year come wellness goals. One very effective and easy to reach goal is to add Dose to your wellness regime. Dose is expertly formulated organic wellness shots that support your liver in one delicious drink. Formulated with ingredients clinically shown to support liver health. Potent turmeric, milk thistle, and ginger. There's 0 sugar and 0 calories. Did you know that your liver performs over 500 special functions? Since I learned all that my liver is doing, I started with Dose to support all those vital functions. I take a shot of refreshing Dose 2 times per week to combat everyday toxins from food, meds, alcohol, and unhealthy air. Since starting with Dose about a month ago, I am definitely feeling an overall improvement in my health. So if you want to give Dose a shot and invest in your health like I have, Dose is offering DTT listeners 15% off your first order, plus an additional 15% off if you subscribe for a monthly delivery. That's 30% off your first order. So go to dosedaily.co/DTT and use the code DTT. That's dosedaily.co.co/DTT and use the code DTT. I have a room that I would like to bring back. And I think it is happening. I think there is a trend towards bringing back a dedicated living room. And I would like to know what you think about that, Anita.
Well, I'm for whatever works for the person. So I'm not pro living room or anti living room. I just think it needs to make sense for the person. And I know growing up, you only went, in our house, we lived in the basement in the family room.
Was that just you in the basement with no clown Sunday, or were other people down there?
The whole family was down there. Now we had a very nice, quote unquote luxuries, not really, but upstairs, that had the nice view and the nice living room with the nice furniture. Only went in there for 2 reasons. If we had guests or if I was getting yelled at. That was the only time I was allowed in that room. Whoa. And it was like a no food zone. So why would you want to go in a no food zone anyway? There was no eating allowed in there,
Well, okay, this is all right.
The dog wasn't allowed in there. It was like, why would I go there? No food, no dog. I don't think so.
Okay, this is what happened. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I am not alone. There is definitely a trend to bringing back a dedicated living room, but in a different way than what you just described. What happened, unfortunately, to the living room, because years ago,
my parents ruined it. That's what happened.
Parents ruined it, and other people were in on it too. But it was primarily your parents. But
primarily,
in years and years and years ago, the living room was a place of where you gave a first impression, where you entertained guests, where you actually went and enjoyed it, and probably people had people came over more. They weren't just emailing each other. All these things were going on, and even if you could eat there or not eat there, it was being used. What happened was, at some point, starting with your parents, the living room was completely
I'm pretty sure it is their fault.
Derailed because it was seen as a room that should be roped off. So who would want to go in there not to be able to do anything? And the only thing that could happen there is, in your case, you were getting yelled at. So who would want to go into that room? It became this sacrosanct space that was off limits, separate, often uncomfortable, and relatively unusable.
Right.
So why would you go there? But
so the sad thing was, obviously it's a room that was only used. In our particular case, it was used not even 5% of the time, really probably more like 1% of the time it was actually being used.
You must have been a very good girl. You didn't get yelled at.
Oh, well, no, but they just did it quickly. A minute, you're pretty much,
you got it.
There's enough yelling in a minute, you're done. So it's this huge space that was completely wasted most of the year. And so that's what I have against it. I'm not against living rooms in general, but if you're not using them, then I think it's a waste of time. So if you have a way to use it, then I'm all for it.
Well, here's the thing. It's really just a couple of things. it's your mindset. Obviously, it's the way your house is set up. So if your house was built at a certain time, you probably have a separate living room. If your house was built after a certain year, you may have a great room with an open concept. So then you don't have a separate living room. And that's terrific and fine too. But for the people who have a separate living room or would like to find an older home that has a separate living room, or would like to build a new home that has a separate living room, which is happening more now. There's less and less great rooms being made, and there are more separate living rooms, because it is really nice to have separate rooms that serve different purposes, right? So with everything collapsed into one room where it's entertaining and it's family and it's eating and it's getting yelled at and it's getting praised and all these different things are going on in this one room. I don't know. Humans kind of like to have these separate spaces. And so I think we're trending back towards this separate living room. And I do live in a home that has a separate living room. And so, it works with this house. I would not have knocked down walls and made a great room in this house. It would not have been right for the house. So I'm really buoyed by this whole idea of a separate living room.
Well, I think, one way to look at it is if you get bored being in one room all the time, it's kind of nice to have another room to hang out in. But again, you need to go there. And I think as humans, we just tend to have this just one place that we usually sit and go to. And so, by habit, it's usually just one particular room. Our current house does not have a living room. The old house had a living room, but we didn't have a study. And when we lived there, that's when they had the big computers, and that's before laptops. So, that's where the computer was. That's where we worked at the desk. That's where we got the checkbook out back when we had a checkbook.
Right.
That's where we wrote the letters back when we wrote letters.
Oh, right. Okay.
So now it's like you don't even need the study now.
Well, yeah, because you're very portable. But here's the thing. If you have a living room, consider this as a comeback trend and consider how you can use your living room to the best advantage for yourself and your family. If it's not being used and it's a Christmas room, and that's it, or it's when someone's coming over, we sit in the living room, try to figure out a way that you can use it. If the furnishings on there are not really inviting, they're pretty, but they're uncomfortable, maybe consider adding a really comfortable chair, or consider adding a small round pedestal table with that you could pull up maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 chairs, and you put a game on it, put a puzzle on it, even just put a pile of books that could be inviting. Add some things to the room that will make it a destination for you and your family. I'm not saying you have to let the kids eat in there. You don't. I wouldn't. But make it a place where you feel like you can go and put your feet up.
Are you saying that it's going to be, are you thinking of it in the traditional sense that it's a more formal living area? Or are you thinking just kind of a second living area?
No, I think it should have, in this trend that's coming back, I think it definitely still has that sense of more of a dignified room, and that, one.
Are you saying our other rooms are not dignified?
No, but you know what I'm talking about. There's this thing about the living room. Yeah. That's why it became the room that people didn't go into, because that part was carried too far. Right. It was like, oh, that's only for guests. We need to, the whole.
But that was kind of back in the day, it was all about impressing people. So you had to have the nice room. You only spent money on the rooms on the front of the house, the rooms that were for guests, and you didn't spend money on the kitchen because that was just you, and you didn't spend money on the master bedroom or the bathroom. And life has switched, and I think I'm thrilled that now people say, you know what, it's worth spending money on the part of the house that I live in because I'm here. I think I'm glad.
Very true. So let's carry that further. People are spending money on the kitchens, and people are spending money on other rooms where the real living is going on. Well, what I'm saying is this trend that I'm loving is also spending, it doesn't even have to be money, but giving attention to this the room that's called the living room,
right?
And making use of it. Not to say that this now becomes a room where there's TV trays and things like that. No, it still should be beautiful. It's still most likely the room that's at the front of the house, and it is going to be a first impression. So if you care about your decor, like you must, if you're listening to us, then you're going to want it to be beautiful. But does it mean that you can't use it on a regular basis? As a separate room and enjoy it. So it's not off limits to you. If in your mind, your living room has a invisible velvet rope, take it down, go in there and let other people go in there and enjoy that space. That's my favorite past trend that's making a comeback because I love the tweak of it. Just like you were saying in the beginning with the jeans and all of that. Okay, this is the tweak on the living room. It's still beautiful, but it's usable and it's comfortable. And it should be welcoming to you, not only people that are occasionally coming to your home as guests.
Yeah, well said. Comfortable and inviting.
Thank you. You know what else is comfortable and really inviting?
Yes.
Is my friend Annie Diamond, who I met. Again, I meet all these wonderful people.
Is this, wait a minute, have you stepped over to the crushes?
I stepped to my crush. I was making my segue to my crush.
Okay.
Right. So, big banner.
Crush
this
away.
Is my crush. Okay. So my friend Annie Diamond, I have never met her in person, but she's one of those people where you connect. And just like we've done with so many of you listeners and our readers and all that, there's, you reach out, all of a sudden there's this connection. You have things in common. You might have a laugh, whatever. So I met Annie probably on Instagram first, and she has a beautiful blog called Most Lovely Things. She has spent time living in California. She's also from the East Coast in the New York tri-state area. And she has just a wonderful aesthetic. It's really beautiful and clean lined, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I love her Instagram. And then she also has another Instagram with these coffee shops of New York, which I love following because I just sort of would love to meet up with Annie at one of these great coffee shops that she discovers and, sit in the window and watch the world go by while chatting with her. I think you guys will all find her as enchanting as I do. So I'm going to leave notes, links, I should say, in the show notes to Annie's blog, Most Lovely Things, and both her Instagram accounts, so you can get to know her as well.
Oh, well, thanks for
I love to find new Instagram accounts and new vlogs to read. So I hope you guys do too. So I think you'll enjoy Annie.
Oh, well, great. Well, my crush today is a show I found on Amazon Prime. And the Victoria TV show.
Don't spoil it. I haven't seen the last one.
No, I haven't either.
Okay.
But I mean, just go read history and you'll know what happens. No. I'm not there yet either. Anyway, no, but I'm watching it and I've been thoroughly enjoying it from the beginning. And so this is this is not that show. This is a different show, and it's just 2 episodes, but it's very fascinating. It is called Queen Victoria's Letters, A Monarch Revealed. And they have, they're reading the letters. They have some experts on there talking about what was going on at different times in her life, what she was thinking and what she was writing at the time. And so she apparently was a very prolific journalist. Oh. And so she wrote in her journal every day. And when she died, her daughter, I guess it was Vicky, I don't know, destroyed a lot of her journals. However, there was so much material that there's a substantial amount that she didn't touch. So it's very fascinating to hear about what she was thinking. Apparently she was not as dour as she looks in all the pictures. She did enjoy a good laugh. And it's just very interesting, her thoughts on motherhood and everything. And I love when there's a show about a historical figure like the Victoria show, to then go check with history to see how close that mirrors the actual reality. Oh. So it's fun to read her actual letters.
Oh, I bet. Oh, that's probably so. It's someone narrating it, and they're just reading them to you.
Well, no. I mean, there's different people talking, so it's not just one long narration. There'll be someone reading section. I can't remember the actress's name, but she's really good. I've seen her in a ton of things. You'll recognize her, but 4 Weddings and a Funeral and a bunch of the Jane Austen things. She'll read a little section of the diary or the journal, and then there'll be other people on there talking about her.
Oh, interesting. And that is, did you tell me Amazon Prime?
It is Amazon Prime. Okay. Very interesting. If you like historical figures, and we are very fascinated with Queen Victoria because she and Albert shaped so much of how we live our lives today over here in America, even though,
didn't we say we were going to do a show about that? I think
yes, it's on our list about all the things that they instituted that now affect the culture still today.
Fascinating. Yeah.
So hopefully other people will be interested besides just you and me.
No, I think, well, come on. Let us know if you are. Okay. So did we have a listener question today? I believe that we did, right?
Yes, so. I think, yes. Want to share that with us?
Okay. So we have Jessie M. Jessie, subject line is, help me. Okay, we're here. We're going to help. Jessie says that she loves the vintage country home look, and she wants her home to feel cozy, welcoming, and comfortable. Well, got that. Love it. She doesn't care for a lot of color. She declares that she's pretty much a plain Jane with regard to that. Black, white, creams, and browns. And then she sent us a picture of her bedroom. And the questions are, should I have a rug? What kind of lamp should I get? Should I change my bedding? And should I paint my walls? So let me give everyone, Anita has this picture in front of her as well. So let me give you an idea of what's going on in this room. It is very simple, but that is, there's no criticism. I'm just describing. It's simple, can be very beautiful. So there's a,
well, she self-described, likes it,
right.
On the plain side.
Right. Yeah. So there's a, wooden bed with a tallish headboard in sort of an ashy brown. And it looks like the dresser, and there's at least one nightstand that is matching it. So that's all this sort of, I would say like sort of ashy brown, not gray, but sort of like an ashy brown wood.
Kind of dark brown.
Yeah. And then she has a coverlet on that looks like a sort of quilt, and it has like a little boho medallion thing going on. And maybe it's probably black, it might be a navy, black and cream, and like a little bit of a saffron-y color.
Oh, it might be okay. Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but I don't know if that's a duvet, or I'm thinking it's a quilt, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's what I said, a quilt.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so that's basically it. So this room is a bit of a blank slate, and there's
which is great work. Yeah. I mean, it's honestly, it's easier to start with a blank slate than a room that's got a lot in it.
Right. And then the rug, I should mention, it looks like it's a wall to wall, and it's a low pile, shaggy
kind of. Like a frise, I would say.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a taupey color.
Yeah. Kind of camel.
Yeah. And then there's a large window. It looks like there's a TV on the floor that maybe hasn't made it to its spot yet, because it looks like there's some sort of sporting event or something going on the television. But there's a large,
I don't think that's staying there yet.
Yeah. So then there's a very large window that appears to be very bright. There's a lot of natural light coming in. So that's awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready for me to
go
throw out some ideas? Okay. Well, so looking at the room, there's not a lot of fabric beyond the carpet and the quilt on the bed. So I think to soften the room, I would definitely, it looks like there's not, I don't know. I can't tell if there's blinds or anything on the windows, but it does feel like it would really be helped by some nice full curtains on either side of the window. I think that would be a nice touch, and I would definitely take that rod up to the ceiling and make sure your panels on either side are not actually covering the window. So I would maybe do it. I don't know what the window looks like. I don't know what that whole wall looks like, but it looks like there's maybe just 2.5, maybe 30 inches of room on either side of the window, but it's a huge window. So if it's as I think it is, I would probably let a lot of that wall be a couple of curtain panels over to each side that look nice and full. And then take that rod up to the ceiling. And then I think with the bed, I think it could use, I would probably put some Euro pillows to get some height on the pillows. It's got a very, very tall headboard, but the pillows are laying fairly flat on there. So I think I would do some Euros to really add some interest and give you something to look at rather than just the large headboard. I think that would be a nice thing to have in front of the headboard. And another thing I think that would make it feel more luscious would be to roll up and have a duvet at the foot of the bed. And the colors on the duvet, you're just going to want to go with something that's coordinating with the colors that are on the bed. It looks like it's a very blue and white pattern that's, a fairly simple one. So it shouldn't be too hard to find a duvet that's going to go with that. You could even go with a white one or a solid blue one if you didn't want to introduce another pattern. A solid duvet. But I think that would be nice to have a duvet at the foot and then have some matching Euro pillows at the headboard. And as far as a rug, because the room is carpeted, I would and it's not a super flat, it's not a Berber, I would probably avoid a rug on the floor. And then as far as the lamps go, it's hard to recommend a specific one. But I would definitely, because that headboard is so tall, I would make sure that you put some large lamps here. You do not want them looking dwarfed by the large scale of the headboard. So I would definitely go with a large scale, tall lamp on either side. How about you?
Green Chef is a delicious delight any time of year, but especially during the holidays. What a wonderful vision to behold as the Green Chef boxes on your doorstep. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. And it makes eating well so easy with plans to fit every lifestyle, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat a more balanced diet. So let Green Chef take the work out of eating clean this holiday season. And if you've got guests coming, shop Green Bundles. They're now available at the Green Market. It's your one-stop shop for nutritious grab-and-go breakfasts, including vegan options, brunch kits, wholesome lunches, ready-to-eat snacks, veggie sides, and more. You can feel your best this December and do your best with Green Chef because they offset 100% of the delivery emissions as well as 100% of the plastic in every box. Go to greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT and get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. greenchef.com/60DTT and use the code 60DTT to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. BritBox just keeps getting better. The new Archie is amazing. And it's not the comics. It's about Cary Grant. Archie is the brand new limited series starring Jason Isaacs as Archie Leach, the man who became Cary Grant. From the award-winning screenwriter of Philomena, Archie tells Grant's born in Britain, made in Hollywood story, the dramatic grit to glamour transformation that led him to become one of the most famous people in the world. You are going to absolutely love the acting, but also the styling, the outfits, the scenery. It's the first time his story has been told in collaboration with his daughter Jennifer Grant and ex-wife Diane Cannon. The performances from Jason Isaacs and the rest of the cast are amazing, and it's only available on BritBox. So sign up for BritBox today to stream Archie and other fan favorites from any device. And we have a special limited time offer for our U.S. and Canadian listeners. Get 50% off, yes, that's 50% off your first month when you sign up for a monthly plan. But only if you go to BritBox.com and use our promotion code DTT at checkout. You're going to love Archie. So head over right now and get 50% off your first month of BritBox. Use the promotion code DTT at BritBox.com. Wow, that was fantastic. Ditto. It all sounded good to me. Okay. Really great. Yes, and you can stay in the neutral tones with all the things that Anita's mentioning, or you could maybe work in some, if it's the black that you like, maybe something like that. I'm thinking about the lamps, and I so agree with you, Anita. That headboard is pretty massive,
right,
and goes up very high. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking definitely could do big lamps. And if I was going to do lamps, I think I would do some sort of woven shade just to add some more texture because I'm feeling like this room needs more texture to it. So maybe like one of those water hyacinth. I know Ballard sells those and probably some other places sell them as well. But maybe because this headboard goes up so high, maybe you put sconces on either side. You know, the kinds that can either, you know, that arc out a bit. And there's so many different ones. You could do them in metals. You could have them with some sort of cloth shade or even this textured shades. And they can be hardwired, but you can also just have them directly plugged in if there are outlets behind there, which they probably are. And I think that could look really cool there because it will, again, keep your eye up. And as I said, I so agree with you. You don't want squat little lamps on either side.
Yeah, I think that's nice. I mean, I think that sounds great. And that's a great idea to come up with something a little more textured for the lampshades. So that's another option.
And I would add a plant to the room, something organic. I feel like it needs some green. And with all that natural light, I think you can really do that. As Anita mentioned, because the way the photograph is taken, we can't tell. It looks like there might be blinds there from the little corner of the photo. But if there's not, I would do some natural wovens or something there in addition to the draperies that Anita's mentioning, because you're definitely going to need some privacy.
Yeah, and you could put something above the bed or not as far as artwork.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about above the bed. Yeah. I'm thinking I wouldn't put anything there.
Yeah, I'd have to see everything else. But also, I think based on seeing the room, that Jessie's kind of a minimalist girl. So I'm thinking she may not want anything up there.
Right.
So I'm trying to, you know, kind of think about what is going to appeal to her.
Right.
And I think that might be best for her.
Right. Because that headboard goes up so high and it's on an arch. You'd have to have something really long and narrow. I don't know. It would kind of be like, you'd have to have a very specific thing to go up there. So I think
not just anything is going to go there. You'd have to be very careful with that. So yeah, well, that's great. Well, thank you, Jessie, so much for sending that in for us to weigh in on. I hope that gave you some good ideas or a place to start. If you have any questions or tips to share, or just want to say hi, drop us a note at decoratingtipsandtricks@gmail.com. And thanks for sharing your day with us. Remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
I want to remind you that we are available for design consults. We take on your design dilemmas, questions, renovations, any project you want to talk about, any room, any space. We are here for you. And we really do enjoy doing these. And I think we've helped people a lot. So if you want to sign up for a consult, head to the link in the show notes. It's decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. We hope to talk to you soon.